Good afternoon, everyone. This is Joe Russo, your summer e-learning principal. I hope everyone is doing well. Thank you for joining our broadcast. Again, this is another opportunity for me to introduce myself to you, but also provide a face to your questions and to your emails. So I noticed that some of you have already populated the chat area, which is fantastic. Or some of you may just be watching and listening to see what's being shared. So we have had quite a few sessions already hosted live, and so many great questions and feedback already provided. And so, I think at this point in time, given that we're almost 2 weeks into our course and the session 1 program, I think it's just a great opportunity for me to continue sharing some ideas, some advice going forward. In case you haven't realized, the following week, starting Monday, we are at midterm. So if you're in session 1, we are at midterm. So you definitely are going to want to, take the following tips or pieces of advice and follow through on them. First one is, at this time, you should already have communicated with your teacher, and not just once, but many times through email, reaching out, maybe asking for some direction, some feedback, some advice, or you want to discuss how your assignments have been graded and get that feedback. You should also have a mark update. So if you don't, I would highly suggest that you follow up with your teacher, because we're approaching midterm. And so you're going to want to know where you are in terms of your path to success. The last thing, well, not the last thing, but the next thing I wanted to suggest to you is, when it comes to time management, how are things going? Are you reflecting on your scheduling? Are you, thinking about how you're balancing your coursework, keeping up to date with what's happening in your course, and making sure that you're organized and on top of things. Midterm is an important signal because you are halfway done. You're halfway through. We are approaching final exams. We're approaching culminating activities. Literally, we're looking at a week later. So, you want to make sure that you're keeping up to date, and making sure that you understand that setting yourself up for the second half is critical. Maybe you fell behind. Maybe you need some extra time. I'm sure that your teachers would appreciate sooner than later that you reach out and start having that conversation if you haven't done so already. And maybe communicating through email is not ideal for you. Maybe your parents want to be looped in. Your next step is to request a phone call with you and your teacher. You can do that just through email. Let them know that you'd appreciate a follow-up conversation to the email with a phone call. Specify times that work for you, and I'm sure that the teacher will land on a time that's convenient for both of you. So I know I may have highlighted some things that may seem obvious, but sometimes, teachers and students and teachers and principals have to identify with some of the things that are really important that some students may not think of. So again, we just want to point out some of the basics to have yourself regularly communicate with your students, or sorry, with your teachers, and ask those questions. Get that help, or get that direction from your teacher in order to keep you going and keep you going on to a path to success. Okay. Um, if you haven't already figured out what's due in terms of your work and your assignments, what you're going to want to do is, again, follow up with your teacher and understand, are you supposed to be participating in discussions? Where do I go to get feedback that's collected and provided from the teacher? So there are a lot of questions that you could have, and you should have, because you want to make sure that you're, accessing what's available to its maximum, so that you can continue to, work towards a path to success. So I noticed that our superintendent is trying to jump on, and Lori DeMarco, and she's our big advocate for e-learning at the board, big supporter. However, she is coming in right now, and it seems like the camera is not working for her perfectly well, but there's her picture. So Lori, thank you for joining us. Um, any words of wisdom, anything you want to share with students regarding, participating in an e-learning course, and any advice going forward?
I think my best bit of advice, welcome everybody. First of all, I'm happy to be here and support e-learning in any way I can. And yes, I am struggling with my camera today. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I think the camera is not working for you. Maybe if you default to your profile picture and speak, that'll be perfect.
And
There we go.
so anyway, the thing I would say is make sure that you ask questions. Make sure you reach out to your teacher at all times. If you have any questions at all, it's no different than being in a regular classroom. You need to engage with your teacher, and you need to engage with your peers in the class.
Yeah, and I think that if anything, in terms of over communicating, we want to make it apparent to students that it's fast paced and you can easily fall behind. So it's so important to be aware of that calendar of items, because things do come up. And so when it comes to things coming up, you want to be on that email right away and say, Miss, Sir, just wanted to give you a heads up that I'm participating in this, and I may be, a few hours delayed in submitting my work. Can I have possibly until tomorrow? Things like that come up. And so what you want to do is not hope that, it won't, it will go unnoticed. You have to communicate and always be owning your learning. I'm gonna turn over to the chat here. Lori's back. Who do you contact if you want to drop a course? So if you want to drop a course, Mark, you would contact eregister at tcdsb.org. So org. Okay. So Lori, you've seen and been a part of e-learning for years. In terms of the tip for students around managing their time, what do you have in terms of a tip for students?
You're right, Joe. I have been involved in e-learning since we offered our first full credit e-learning course in 2000. So I've been involved for some time. Time management, I think probably a good tip. One that I picked up the other day was that you should have a checklist of all the things that you're doing and that need to get done. So, scroll through your course, see what all the deadlines are, and put them on a calendar somewhere, and make yourself a list to ensure that you're checking off everything that needs to be done. And participation online matters just as much as it does participating in a class that you sit in. So to engage in the conversations and to engage everyone around you and to work collaboratively with them is important. And keeping in touch with people will also keep you on task and on top of the things that need to get done.
What's amazing is, and again, I work with you, so I know how many tasks you're balancing, and this is good advice, because a checklist, something that you can refer to quickly to just glance at what's outstanding, when things are due. But I like how you're emphasizing participating, because there probably is an advantage to participating in an online course that a lot of people don't realize. And the advantage is that everyone will have an opportunity to have a voice, because you're not necessarily having to be the outgoing or shy person in a course, or in a classroom. There's an opportunity for everyone to share. So I would definitely back up Lori's advice around make sure you're participating. Make sure that you're reviewing what other people are sharing in discussion forums and share back, right?
I would add to that that, you know, online is a great forum for people who are a little bit shy to come to be able to participate in a different way.
Yeah, totally. So in terms of prepping for midterm, Lori, I had just mentioned that it's really important that students have reached out to their teachers and had a chance to have a conversation around the second half and, you know, reflecting on the first half, how they can improve, what they can do to improve, to, you know, to progress around their skill set and their learning. Any tip around the second half and realizing there's so much hope and so much more to go in terms of possibilities and growth?
Well, if you start, don't think of it as maybe the second half, think of it as a continuation, because midterm doesn't always reflect what happens in the end. So even if people have been struggling a little bit, there's lots of opportunities to regroup and to reapproach some of the stuff, and, you know, to contact your teacher about how you can improve.
Yeah, and I appreciate the fact that you're taking these random questions from me, because I know you're probably writing some kind of report in the background because you're so busy. Anything else you want to share, Lori, before I let you go?
No, unfortunately, Joe, I'm glad I was able to hop on for a few minutes, but I do have to go because we have some deadlines on some stuff that we need to get in.
Totally appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Lori.
And good luck.
Thanks. So I'm just going to look at the chat area here. Hi, Mr. Russo. I signed up for a course for eClass session 2, and the course is not showing up on my list. Michael, thanks for asking that question. The fact that you don't see the course is because in the background, we're still organizing registration. And we're also putting a teacher in place. So as soon as the teacher is in place and as soon as the teacher activates the course, you'll see the course. But in the meantime, it's great that you're checking. I wish everyone checked like you're checking, because then, you know, you're part of the whole setup, because really we have over 7,000 students participating between session 1 and 2. And you never know, the automation sometimes does go wrong, and we don't want anyone to be at any disadvantage in terms of start time and, you know, launching themselves successfully into the program. So Michael, if you don't see anything by Monday, which is the day before we start session 2, let us know. Okay. Send us an email at eregister at tcdsb.org. Okay. So Kelly, thanks for jumping in. Another one of our partners in crime when it comes to e-learning, Kelly from Duff and Peel. Yeah, she's just trying to answer some questions. Thank you so much. Hope your program over at Duff and Peel is going well. I know that it's in your hands, so I'm sure it's going well. I'm just looking at the rest of the chat. There doesn't seem to be any more questions, which is not a bad thing, because I'm hoping that everybody seems to be okay. Ashraf Naru, forgive me if I mispronounced the name. You look like you're thinking there with that emoji. Any question from you? Anything you want to ask? I'll just pause for a second. Okay. I think it's E without the underscore register. Thanks, Kelly. So, folks, if there are no other questions. Oh, here we go. Thanks. Will it show up the day before, however? Because I am currently, thank you, because I am currently enrolled in an online course for session 1, and the course appeared on my course list a few days earlier. Yeah. So like I said, it's all a matter of timing. We're looking at registration in the background. We're trying to optimize classes in terms of making sure students that want the course are in it. And really the automation is, you know, it clicks in, it's turned on in the background. And so we can do that very, very soon. Going forward for session 1, we had turned on courses a few days earlier. There were no particular reason. I guess we had more time to prep for e-learning part 1, eClass part 1 than session 2, because session 2 is still open, right? So it's all good, Michael. Thanks for the question. So folks, really, if I had anything further to say, I would just say that if I was taking an online course, I would communicate daily. I would log in daily. I would make sure that I have a calendar of items, of things that I'm clearly responsible for, but not just taking them, working on them, uploading. I would engage the teacher and share that, here's a question I have around this, or here is a rough draft of something that I'm working on. Any feedback would be, appreciated, because 2 days from now I have to upload the work and submit it. So you are in charge of your learning. If you're going to wait and just upload and hope that you've done things correctly, again, you wouldn't do that in a day school, right? In day school, you'd be face-to-face with your teacher and peers, and you'd have a chance to ask questions, and you'd have a chance to, get that information and translate that feedback into what you're working on. So nothing changes here in terms of, what you're doing online. Online, you're asking questions. You're logging in daily. Okay. My pleasure, Michael. Wish you much success. So, folks, I'm going to sign off because there doesn't seem to be any more questions. Again, I think this is our 7th session. So clearly, everyone has, launched themselves into taking their online course and doing their best. So I got a question here from Ramona. How would a course like data management work online? Well, that's a great question. So bottom line is, you're really not going to know until you're in the course, because the teacher personalizes the content, right? Your teacher would put in place various activities, various assignments, various content. And so just imagine logging in, being in an online space where you're going to be invited to be part of discussions. You can post, reply. For example, you can, you're going to have content, and you're going to have to read that content. You're going to have to participate in the You're going to have to participate in any interactive part of that content that is included. And then, of course, you're going to have to complete assignments and upload them. And pretty much that's the experience. But again, that's very general, because the teacher would be the one that's going to provide that specific experience based on what they like, what you like, and what content's available to mash up from when it comes to what's shared from the ministry. So yeah, there's a lot of possibilities, but you won't know until you try. Emily, is SPH 4CT going to be an online exam or an in-class? The only online exams are going to be grade 12 university courses that are online, right? So those are going to be face-to-face, those exams. Grade 12 university courses only, okay? Thank you so much. No problem. Great question. Ramona, just so you know, in terms of having a look at what an online course looks like, you are more than welcome to come to the board office and have a teacher sit with you to, poke around and show you what courses look like. It was open to everyone to sit down with a teacher and have a look at what courses look like. We had that opportunity last week. So again, going forward, be mindful of what's shared in terms of support sessions and support opportunities. Okay. All right. So Emily, in terms of your course disappearing, we published in the continuing education flyer that, courses may not run. Courses may be canceled. And if there's courses that have low enrollment, then we announced that we could potentially cancel courses. We're in the background right now trying to not cancel courses, but we can't offer courses that have 3 or 4 kids, right? So just look for that, and then we'll provide that timely feedback to let you know if courses are canceled and if you need to move into a different option. Okay, Emily? So not to worry, we will follow up with you shortly. Alex, does our report card get sent to the university we have applied for? Great question. So Toronto Catholic students, your marks, this is only for Toronto Catholic students. Your marks are going to be transferred to the colleges by August the 2nd. Okay? Around that date, August 2nd, August 3rd, okay? And then if you're part of session 2, those marks are going to be transferred on August the 19th. If you're a non-Toronto Catholic student, you have to take your report card over to your school board or your school, and then they handle the updating of your records and the mark transfer to the post-secondary institutions, okay? Or you can take your report card directly to the post-secondary institution to update your application and your status, okay? So that's a great question. It's a very good question. So I'm glad you asked that. Thank you. So I think that's it. I think the chat is over. Again, we'll have more sessions in the future, near future. All of the dates and the links are on the homepage under announcements when as soon as you log in. Mark, got a question. I emailed the register that I want to drop. How long does it take? Mark, we've got a team that's working on in the background, processing all requests. You will hear back sooner than later and definitely not incur an academic penalty. Okay? Again, great question. All right, folks. Thank you for jumping in. So session 2 finishes on August 9th. No, session 2 finish is on August the 12th. Okay? Oh, my pleasure. All right, folks. Got to get back to those emails. We'll talk soon. Bye for now. Thanks for joining me on the broadcast. Have a great day. Get out there and have some fun. Take care.